Another mystery in the deadly South Korean Jeju air crash. Now, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board says the plane's black boxes, both of them, stopped recording 4 minutes before that flight went down. Officials claim the Boeing 737 hit a bird while trying to land just before skidding off the runway, slamming into a concrete barrier, bursting into flames. 179 people died on board. But authorities still don't know the official cause of the crash, and not having that information provided by the flight data and cockpit voice recorders will only complicate the investigation. And now I want to bring in NewsNation travel editor Peter Greenberg for more on this. I mean, Peter, man, things just got really interesting and a whole lot more complicated for this investigation. What's your read on that 4 minutes before crashing? An accidental malfunction or something nefarious?
Well, in any accident investigation, the investigators have to rule everything out before they can rule any one thing in. And this is what we do know, that the tower had reported to the pilots there were birds in the area, to be aware of that. The pilots then radioed back that they had been hit by birds. We know this from some visual of the right engine hitting the birds. But then the pilots did something interesting. They executed a go-around. Now, any pilot can do that if they're not set up properly for the landing. But in order to do that, you have to have thrust in the other engine, which apparently they did.
Yeah. And that's basically just the pilot trying it again.
Correct. Happens all the time. Yeah. But from that moment on, now we don't know what we don't know. And the most mystifying thing about this crash is that in any crash, the very first things the investigators look for are the black boxes. The cockpit voice recorder that tells you the last 30 minutes of conversation, both in the cockpit and between the cockpit and the ground. And then in the tail of the plane is located the FDR, the flight data recorder, which gives you all the parameters: engine performance, temperature, altitude, speed, etc. They were able to recover both boxes, but they didn't have the ability to do the lab work in Korea, so they sent it back, as many countries do, to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board laboratory in Washington, because they have the ability to do that. Well, when they inspected the black boxes, the mystery deepened, because 4 minutes before that plane hit that barrier on the runway, both boxes stopped recording. Yeah. That means electrical supply to the boxes was cut off. This never happens. It also doesn't explain why the plane's landing gear was not deployed, the flaps not extended, the slats not extended. And keep in mind, that plane hit the ground, skidded on that runway at about 50 knots faster than a normal landing, which is also a problem.
So how do investigators move forward, Peter, and put the puzzle pieces together for what happened in lieu of this equipment? I mean, can they? Or is the moral of the story that we probably might not ever know what happened fully?
Right now, this remains a mystery because they don't have any evidence that can corroborate any particular timeline to be able to put the pieces together. This may mean that this crash goes down as one of the great mysteries.
Yeah. We know that there were 2 survivors. If I'm correct in saying this, I believe they were crew members that were on board. Have any idea if they've been interviewed yet?
We don't know that, but how much they don't know, because they were both crew members in the back of the plane strapped in. So they would not have had access to any radio communications or any information. They were just as clueless at that point, perhaps, as the other passengers who then perished.
Mm-hmm. And you've never seen anything like this before, where both of these data recording boxes have gone out?
We've seen situations where the cockpit voice recorder was damaged beyond repair, but we've never had a situation where they couldn't get data from at least one of them. And at this point, it's a clueless situation, and nobody can get to those 3 words that people are always looking for: the probable cause.
Yeah. Do you expect to see any new FAA, regulations or new guidelines to come from this deadly crash, Peter?
Well, they're going to have to look at one thing about the basic makeup of a 737, is where does the electrical supply come from to power both of these, and what could have possibly turned that electrical supply off? Remember, the National Transportation Safety Board has been arguing for a long time to do better cockpit voice recording systems, including longer recording time, going back basically 24 hours, not 30 minutes.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.